Hari Om. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namaste friends. Welcome to the 24th session of the series Gift, Gita for Inner Freedom and Transformation. We begin today with the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga, the Yoga of Meditation. The 6th chapter deals with the role of meditation as an important spiritual sadhana. How does meditation help before Atmanyanam and how does it help after Atmanyanam? What is it meant for and what it isn't? We will deal with all this. Swami Anubhavananda ji always says we must not do meditation, we must be in meditation. Dr. Kiran will be introducing today's session and he'll be introducing and moderating the session. Over to you, Dr. Kiran.
Thank you. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Gurubhyo Namaha. Gita, to me, is not an encyclopedia. It is not a philosophical treatise which we can use to refer and quote and unquote. It is not a holy book. I will tell you why it is not. But to me and to all of us, it is a manual, a book of life, the manual of life which we can refer to. It is best read and practiced rather than kept and worshipped. The beauty of this is it is written by an householder and not a renunciate or sannyasi, and it was written or taught in a middle thick of samsara one can ever see, that is battlefield. So for me and you, it is the best book of life to refer to. It is an intimate book. As Devdutt Patnaik calls it, it is my Gita. What do you get out of it and how much of what is written we practice? That's what makes it. In short, the Swamiji says it is important to read and follow more than keep and worship. The chapter 6, that is otherwise called as Dhyana Yoga, is almost a continuation of the last chapter. The main subject here is meditation, the purpose and goal of meditation. And many know the techniques we have learned almost every morning. We see every channel will have some meditation other, but we don't know what is the purpose, what is the goal, is there an end point to it or something beyond it. Some think it is a means of lighting up, some think it is a mean of having some power, etc., etc. And some even think that it is a cure for all diseases, and they always, without understanding the purpose and direction, they move around like this rat wheel. So this chapter presents one of the most comprehensive, practical and beautiful verses on meditation, and also how to do it and what is the purpose of it. First, let us learn what meditation is not meant for. Meditation is not a means of moksha. Remember that very, very clearly. Jnanam, that is knowledge alone, is moksha, because ignorance is the root of all evil. And meditation is not a must for jnanam. I'll come to it later why and how. Meditation also is not prescribed for any extraordinary experience. Some people levitation, some people say I saw a halo coming behind me and all that. This is not. Meditation is also not for Brahman experience. Just stay with me, I'll explain it later. Because self is ever the experiencer and never can be experienced. So that is why there is nothing called Brahman experience. It is something which we realize, or the knowledge which comes to us when all other things or impurities is removed. Meditation itself is not an end, it is only a means, it is only a tool. Meditation is not for power. We see in all, many movies, etc. As we see in Bhakta Prahalada, Hiranyakashipu does lot of tapas. There is a difference between tapas and dhyanam or meditation. Meditation or Vedic meditation, as we call it, is more reconciled with the dhyanam. Tapas means sometimes you chant only one word or one God's name, and you punish yourself, you stand on one leg, etc., for years together. And ultimately, what he does, once he get the Sakshat car of Brahma Ji, he asks, I want that power, this power, everything. Anything that is given to you will be taken away from you, and ultimately they become consumed by power, and then ultimately they meet their end. But dhyanam is meditation, is a means of uplifting oneself to reach the enlightenment to God. It is a tool and it is a means. How it is, I'll tell you. Jnanam alone is the means of liberation. We need tools to see, experience, and interact with the world. I want to feel something, I use my hand. I want to see something, I use my eyes. Ultimately, all these report to mind and intellect, and then that interprets. But behind this blessing, this all is the self. How do we know the self? We cannot know the self by any means. However, there is one tool, that is Shastras. Through Guru Anugraha, through Shastras, this is the only way. If you want to see yourself, only mirror is the possibility. Otherwise, there's no other possibility. Similarly, if you want to know the self, knowing through Shastras, that is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, under a Guru is the only way. There is no other way. And meditation and all other things are foundation or ways to achieve this. What is the purpose of the meditation then? One is Jnana Yogyata Prapti. That is that we prepare our mind for the spiritual knowledge. This is called as Upasana or Saguna Ishvara Dhyana. That is, we think about Ishvara or Shivalinga or Vishnu, and then we mentally think about and concentrate on him. That is called as Upasana. Second, Jnana Nishta. So once we have assimilated the knowledge, as I told you, by hearing Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasana, it has to be assimilated inside. And this is called as Nididhyasanam. This is what Krishna means. This is what we also would like to share through these verses. That is revising habitual self-opinion of notion, then whether it is right or wrong. Revising habitual emotional response, what is called as viparyaya bhava. All these can be removed. And once it is removed, we'll reach what is called as Jivan Mukti, here and now. And this is the alert living and live the teaching. As Neetaji says, you have to be in meditation, not do the meditation. And that time, every word we say, every minute we spend, every second we look or not do anything, we will be in meditation. That is the beauty of it. This chapter can be divided into 5 topics. One is Samanya Sadhana, that is Bahiranga Sadhanani, general preparation for the meditation. That is, this is what type of lifestyle we need to inculcate. And second is Vishesha or Antaranga, that is specific preparation we need for meditation or just before meditation. Then the process or nature of the meditation itself. Then what is the benefit of it? And then what are the obstacles and their remedies? Like sleep, distraction, all those things can be obstruction or pratibandha to it, and how to get rid of it, we will learn. So first, in the first section, that is the first 5 verses, we learn the main preparation, that is samatvam. That is, we need to have quietness or equanimity, the emotional being to bounce back if there is anything adverse. So this mind we need to inculcate And one of the ways to do it is Karma Yoga. And ultimately, with the blessings of the Guru and approaching the Guru the right way is the only means of learning either meditation or this knowledge. The uses of meditation are to purify the mind. And as I told, to experience not the Brahman, but to experience the benefit of the knowledge. I'll give an example. Our imagine a mirror with a dirt. Once we clean, that is the mind is clean, then we see our face as good as the face it is. That is how we will reach it once we have a meditation. And next, whatever we see, it is said that 80% of it is we come through our memory. That means if I see something and say, okay, this looks black, this looks like that, this looks round shape, the interpretation of this 80% comes from memory, and only about 20% we see the way it is. That's why once we have this filter very clear, then we will see the world, we'll see everything as it is, and we don't put our own meaning to it or our own stories to it. So meditation, as I told, is not for moksha, not for gnanam, it is not for some mystic experience. The meditation is for preparation before gnanam and for assimilation after gnanam. And these are the five main topics which we'll be dealing it. And to tell the first verse, I request Dr. Deepak, please.
Thank you, sir. Om Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. We are now commencing the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Shashtodhyayah Atma Samyama Yoga. The 6th chapter is about Dhyana Yoga, the yoga of meditation. Prior to starting with the verses, Swami Paramarthanandaji provides a clarification about the role that Dhyana Yoga plays for a Vedantic seeker. Next slide, sir. Swamiji begins by clarifying what Dhyana Yoga is not meant to be, as was just discussed. Swamiji clarifies that Dhyana Yoga is one, not a direct means to moksha or liberation. So if you can press the slide, yes. Not a means to moksha or liberation. 2, Dhyana Yoga is not a means to acquire knowledge or jnanam. 3, Dhyana Yoga is also not a means to have mystical experiences or extraordinary powers. Here, Swamiji clarifies that mystical or extraordinary experiences still belong to the objective field, and so it can never deal with the subject himself. The self, which is the subject, is not an object of mystic experience, but the self is the subject behind all ordinary and extraordinary mystical experiences. So, what then is the role of Dhyana Yoga? It is said to have 2 roles. The first role is as Upasana Dhyanam, which is the preparation of the mind for spiritual knowledge. This stage is followed by Shravana Mananam, the acquisition of knowledge from a qualified guru by focused listening and the clarification of doubts respectively, which generally should be enough to produce the necessary transformation. But if the necessary transformation does not take place, this is due to obstacles arising out of prior conditioning, what are called Viparyaya or Viparita Bhavana. Here is where the second stage of dhyana, that is Nididhyasana, in which these obstacles are overcome over time with constant practice. With that background, we come to the first verse of the 6th chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashritah Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Yaha Sasanyasi Cha Yogi Cha Na Niragni Na Chakriyaha. The Lord says, Saha Yah Karoti Karma Karyam. He who performs the recommended actions or the obligatory actions, Anashritah Karma Phalam, without depending on the fruits or expecting the fruits of the actions. Sannyasi Cha Yogi is a sannyasi and also a yogi. Cha na niragnihi, but a sannyasi is not he who renounces prescribed rituals, cha na akriya, or is a renouncer of the obligatory actions. So the whole verse meaning is, he who performs the obligatory duties without expecting the fruits of the action, he is a monk and a yogi, but not he who renounces the prescribed activities or the obligatory duties, or has renounced all activities. The sixth chapter starts with a general preparatory verse or Bahiranga Sadhanani or Samanya Sadhanam. So the first preparation is Karma Yoga as a means of keeping the mind in equipoise. A Karma Yogi is one who prioritizes Dharma Moksha over Artha Kama. Thus, the spiritual aspirant, Anashritah Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karotiya. Here, Karyam refers to the Pancha Mahayajna, and the aspirant performs the Pancha Mahayajna, focusing on inner growth and without a desire for tangible material benefits. To quickly recap, the Pancha Mahayajna include first is Deva Yajna, Pitra Yajna, that is second, third Brahma Yajna, fourth Manushya Yajna, and five Bhuta Yajna, and these are depicted in the picture on the slide. These are the five Panchamaha Yajna. Swamiji explains that a Karma Yogi has his mind fully available for the present task, a fully focused mind in meditation, with all actions being offered to the Lord. Such a Karma Yogi is a sannyasi and a yogi, says the Lord. Further, the Lord says, Na Niragni, a sannyasi who has supposedly renounced family and the world, has put on an ochre robe carrying the staff, and has renounced rituals here symbolized by Agni. So if such an individual is still distracted by worldly matters and goals, nurture akriya. Such an individual is said to be just an external meditator, an individual who looks to be meditating, but whose mind is wandering everywhere. And the Lord says such people are not real meditators, they are not yogis or monks. So in this verse, Lord Krishna emphasizes that a householder who is active in life is a meditator if he is a karma yogi with focus. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Deepak. That was very well explained. There's nothing much for me to put. I just stress on this word, anashritaha karma pala. Karma pala, that is desire for fruit, itself is the cause for attachment or all the karma palas that come attached with it. So whether it is good karma you do or a bad karma you do, as long as you are having some desire for fruit, that means you are in samsara. So here, yakaroti, one who does karyam karma, that is dharmic action. So how to perform the actions without any desires and what kind of action? It always should be in line with dharma, that is the vocation you do, and the dharma, that is the rules which is prescribed, and also based on your mental aptitude. These are the actions you need to do. And anashrita karma pala means you should not depend on any fruits or desire to have a fruit. Whatever you get, it is okay. If you don't get what you think, that is also okay. This is the what is called as karma yoga. And the one who is doing this action is, according to Lord Krishna, sannyasi. Even though he is not putting akar robe or beard, etc. Even if he's a gruhastha, he praises him and says he is an ideal sannyasi. And niragni, that means agni here means fire. The common grihastha's fire is very important in those days, and now also, of course, it is. And that person who has given up, that means here he refers to as vividisha sannyasi, that is, who takes up ritualistic sannyasi, but mentally he may not be ready for that. Such a person's Lord Krishna criticizes. So what he means is we have to grow out of these desires and mature enough. And once we mature enough, we should move into that slots. And that is how he puts it. And there are 5 common type of karma sannyasas. One is kevala karma sannyasa, that means without desire. Vividisha, we just discussed. Karma yogi, that is who have got inner renunciation, no karma palam. And phala sannyasi, who has given up all the desires. And vidvat sannyasa, that is he is the real gnani or the sannyasa which Lord Krishna refers to. That means he may be a grihastha or he may be a Swamiji or anything, but if he has got the knowledge and the enlightenment and he has given up the karma palam and he performs all the action according to the dharma, that person is called vidvat sannyasa. Next verse will be told by Dr. Diksha. Diksha, please.
Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yam sannyasamitti prahur-yogam tam vidhi Pandava na hyasanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kaschana. In the previous verse, Lord Krishna had mentioned that Karma Yogi is the real sannyasi, and Karma Yoga is a method of maintaining the mind. The graph of our mind doesn't go high or low, but it is in balance. To emphasize the role of Karma Yoga, Lord Krishna wants to glorify Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi is none other than a householder. Grihastha glorification is nothing but Karma Yoga glorification. Lord Krishna also points out that a conventional meditator is not a real meditator. Conventional meditator is the one who is withdrawn from all activity and he is sitting in a very quiet place in a proper posture, keeping the eyes closed. So, Lord Krishna goes to an extent of criticizing a sannyasi for the sake of glorifying a grihastha. Shankaracharya ji says or writes that do not take this criticism seriously. Krishna really wants to glorify a grihastha, so temporarily he is giving seeming criticism on sannyasis. In this verse, Lord Krishna justifies that statement. Pandavaha, son of Pandu, that is Arjuna. Yam, what? Sannyasam, sannyasa. Prahuhu, has been spoken of. Yogam, again here is chittavritti nirodhaha. Tam, that. Vidhi is you have to understand or know. Pandava is the Pandavas have already told. Na bhavati, cannot become. He, asanyasta sankalpaha. He is affirmative sense here, and asanyasta sankalpaha means somebody who has not given up on the sannyasa. Kaschana is anyone. O Arjuna, you must know that what they call sannyasa is none other than yoga. For none becomes a yogi who has not given up on thoughts of the world. Yoga here means chitta vritti nirodha. Chitta is the mind. Vritti is the activity and nirodha is stopping. So the control of the mind from operating to the external senses or the indriyarthas is called chitta vritti nirodha, which is the word which is told by the word yoga. A grihastha can become a sannyasi, but a sannyasi cannot go back. So Lord Krishna says that the main sannyasa required is the sannyasa of the concerns of the mind. Sannyasa of those things that disturb the mind. One of the main things that disturb the mind is that of the concerns regarding the future. One cannot gain self-knowledge if he is worried about the future. Sankalpa, the word sankalpa means mano vyapara karma. Vyapara is something that we do. Mano is manas and karma is the activity. So the vyapara or the work that we are doing in terms of the mind, this vyapara can also be planning. Planning is the deliberate action that we can do at a fixed time. But worrying is never a deliberate action. It is a mechanical reaction which happens anytime. Therefore, sannyasa with a sankalpa can become yoga. That means if you're having this chittavritti nirodha along with the sankalpa, that is, you're having a control on the vyapara of the manas that it is doing, then it becomes yoga. Whereas if there is asanyasta sankalpa, asanyasta is when there is no renunciation of the arthas in the world, then there is no sannyasa. And though there is a sankalpa here, it will more, this kind of sankalpa will be more of worry than of planning. Such a asanyasta sankalpa, if a person is having, that person can never be a yogi. Harihi Om. Thank you.
Thank you. Sankalpa, it's a very tricky word to understand, very beautifully explained by Diksha. The difference between sannyasi and yogi, to put it very clearly, yoga provides a bridge or the link between where you are and to the next step. Whereas the sannyasa almost breaks the bridge from where you are once you reach it. So this is not always desirable until unless you know what you are doing. And better in our life is to go stepwise. And one way he says is karma pala sannyasi, that is, you give up the desires. That is one of the way. And asanyasa sankalpa, that means a person for whom a sankalpa can be a two-edged sword. We see in many motivational courses, everything, you have to make a resolution and you have to work for it. That is a way and other things. But here, often sankalpa is used in a negative connotation. That means, why is it so? We should have a clarify. Diksha has explained it very beautifully. Sankalpa, without attachment to the desires and accepting whatever comes. Say I plan something, I say, okay, I want to do this, I want to do it. And you give your best. And then you may get the same desire, the result or not. You accept it without and say, this is what it has happened. Because the result is ultimately multifactor. It can depend on many, many other things, and many other people's karma also come into play for this. But the sankalpa that the way it should be, my son has to do MBBS, I have to build a big house, or the department should be like this. This is how it should be. This is the world should be like this only. And I'm unhappy if it is not like that. That means this is a selfish agenda, and this is what is a negative sankalpa means. We never created world. We never created anything, not even a grain of sand. Then how can we expect the world to behave or to be in alignment with it? It is all because of samashti karma that plays into play. We as a mere human being have the role only to understand ourselves, and there is no way you can understand how this world is. One of for Swamiji always says, there are 2-3 people in the world who can understand what this enlightenment, moksha, gnanam, brahman, atma is. But you can hardly find 1 or 2 persons who can understand what this samsara is and what this maya is. That's how difficult, because maya by itself means it is fleeting thing. That which is there today, it may not be there tomorrow. That is why always, whatever we do, we should always think of spiritual progress. That means we should have a route map and we should progress according to it. And all the things action we do should be basis of this spiritual goal. And nature functions effortlessly. You see leaves coming out, beautiful flower. You see every rose is a art in itself, but it never have this kind of ego. Then why should we have it? So we should always have this law of least effort. This is the basis, or this is what Lord Krishna is telling. Next we have Sri Satvik to explain the next verse.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Chapter 6, third verse, Bhagavad Gita. Arurukshor munir yogam Karma karana muchyate yoga ruddhasya tasyaiva samakarana muchyate. For a seeker who wants to reach dhyana yoga, karma yoga is said to be the means. And for those who have reached dhyana yoga, renunciation is said to be the means. Now, the question is, how long should one follow karma yoga? Is karma yoga an end in itself, or is it only an intermediary stage of sadhana? We have seen it already in the previous chapter that karma yoga is not the ultimate sadhana. Karma yoga is only an intermediary sadhana by which a person can attain jnana yogata prapti, sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, a prepared, refined, chastened, and a sharp mind. Karma yoga also has a plus point that it can purify the mind, but we should also know its limitation, and that limitation is it cannot give liberation. So, one person embraces karma yoga totally, and another person renounces karma yoga totally. Both are extremes. And therefore, Krishna says there must be a balanced attitude. Use karma yoga to purify the mind and then transcend or drop the karma yoga. Krishna says that everyone should follow karma yoga in the initial stages. Therefore, in the first line, the word yogam means jnana yogam. To come to self-inquiry, a person has to prepare, and meditation can never be the first stage of sadhana. So therefore, Krishna tells yogam aruruksho. If a person wants to purify the mind for jnana yoga, he should first practice karma yoga. Karma karana muchyate. That is why Swamiji says Veda begins with karma kanda. It did not begin with upasana. It did not begin with nididhyasana. Now, Krishna then says, how long should you do karma yoga? Do not permanently hold on to karma yoga. Once you have got the necessary preparation, you have to grow out of karma yoga. Yoga rujasya, meaning one who has accomplished the necessary preparation of mind, he has to withdraw from karma. Withdrawal from karma is in two ways. One is a ritualistic, traditional withdrawal, and which is in the form of taking to sannyasya ashrama. And there is a second form of withdrawal in which a person does not give up the ashram. A person does not become a monk, but he remains in grihastha ashrama itself and reduces the amount of activity. So if he was doing rituals for hours together, he reduces the duration. This requires detachment. This is the second one, which is some kind of vanaprastha ashrama. Therefore, either by becoming a sannyasi or by becoming vanaprastha, one can withdraw from karma yoga. Now, having withdrawn from all these activities, how do one spend their time? Time is spent in more of self-inquiry. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam. These three becomes dominant. In the next verse, Krishna teaches how to identify if the time has come for switch over from Karma Yoga to Dhyana Yoga. That is, are we ready for Vedantic inquiry? Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Satvik. Here, Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna that is for a Sattvika, he has to start the spiritual journey towards liberation. As I was telling before, you are going in a train from here to Delhi. So along you will see many things. You may have to get down to eat, but always you should keep in mind that you have to get back on train on time, and then you have to reach the Delhi. That is why you have to do it. And you can never say, I am reaching Delhi, so all these in-between stations are not important. each has its own meaning, each has its own way. You know, you are in Gulbarga, you know, you're down, you know that your train is going in a right direction. That is how we need to progress in the path of Jnana Yoga. Sadhaka, that is I, who is doing the sadhana, there are multiple options available. That is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasanam, Dhyana, etc. We use all these tools to ultimately get the knowledge and assimilate the knowledge. This is what yoga comes into play. And how long one to do? We should know karma yoga in itself is the not the ultimate end, and it is only a path. And once we attain, as we go, we know the viveka, that is what is the temporary, what is in a long run best for us, what desires or goal we should have, what we should give up. This we need. Vairagyam, this is the key. Gita, if we reverse it, it becomes Tyaga. We should, most important thing is we should develop detachment to the worldly things. That doesn't mean you become a zombie. You should know that you give your best, but the results are multifactorial, and all the actions, the karma phala has to be given up. And ultimately, and most important thing is mumukshatvam. That is, you should have this goal, and like a sharpening knife, you should keep on sharpening this goal and remove all other things. And once it is done, such a purified mind is easy to grasp it, and within, once it is this gnanam is told, it becomes as a sponge takes in water, this assimilates. And next we have Ullas to tell about the further things, further verse.
Thank you. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So as Dr. Kiran just mentioned, and Satvik also beautifully explained, that there is a path. We are taking to Karma Yoga first, then achieving Chitta Shuddhi there. Then we are getting into Dhyana Yoga. There we get Chitta Ekagrata. And then finally we become ready to actually receive the knowledge, to remove the final problem, which is the Avarana. So we go to Jnana Yoga. That is the path that we have. In my own personal understanding, it is the second diagram, that the Karma Yoga continues. It is not that it ends and then Dhyana Yoga starts, then it ends and then Jnana Yoga starts. Karma Yoga continues to happen, because let's say there is a mirror. If there is a dirt on it, then we are removing that dirt to see ourselves clearly. That is Karma Yoga, Mala Nivritti. But that dirt keeps on coming every day. So you have to keep on following Karma Yoga. Similarly, our mind is such that it keeps on wandering here and there. It is not that one day if I'll do Dhyana Yoga, it will stay in place. So I have to continue that also. But to get to Jnana Yoga, I have to get some qualifications, and then I go to Jnana Yoga. Now, once I have done Karma Yoga, how do I know that I am ready for Dhyana Yoga is what we are going to talk about in this verse. So, Karma Yoga was the pravritti mark. I am into activities. I have to cleanse my mind. For that, I have to do activities. I have to build that right attitude, etc. But when I'm doing that, there is a lot of activities I'm doing. There is not enough time. And slowly I have to get back to myself. I have to get into Nivritti Marga, which is the Dhyana Yoga path. Because the benefit of that is now I have more time. Because most of the time we are busy in so many pursuits. Now I have time for that, for self-inquiry. I have my more focus on this activity. So that's why we want to get into Nivritti Marg, we want to get into Dhyana Yoga, so that we get that Chitta Ekagrata. But the point is, like, how do I know when we are going there? So in this verse, we are doing this litmus test. We remember in chemistry classes, we used to know it is not going to be a chemical test here, but how do I know that now I'm ready for a Dhyana Yoga when a person is called situated in Dhyana Yoga? So we'll see the verse proper in the next slide. Says Yada hinendriyartheshu na karmasvanushajjate sarva sankalpa sannyasi yoga rudhas tadochyate. So there is a Yada, and then whenever there is a Yada, there is a Tada. So there says Tada Uchyate. So it says when XYZ happens, Tada, then this person is called a yoga rudha, that he has now situated in yoga, he can now perform Dhyana Yoga. So what is that? So we have seen Dr. Diksha mentioned about Sarva Sankalpa, the Sankalpa Sannyasi. So we'll talk about that. But before that, there are two words which says Na indriyartheshu na karmasu. So when this person, the next slide we can go, when this person is gotten away from the sense objects, all the things that which are attracted by the indriyas and karmasu also, even their pursuits, that is the qualification to get into the next stage. That now I am not attached or obsessed with the sense objects, or I am in their pursuits only, because all the time we are busy into artha kama. I want a better house, I want a different car, I want a better job, and n number of things are there. There is no time. Where is the inclination for Vedanta in such a scenario? Swamiji gives an example that it is not just that kids or young people have these desires of objects and everything. Even like he gives an example that a 90-year-old man is asked whether you want to get married, and then he says that who's going to give me a girl at this age? It's not that I don't have any such sense desires right now. He's worried about who's going to give him a girl. So that is the thought process some people go through, but we need to be careful that we need to slowly drop our attachment to the sense objects and their pursuits. So then we will slowly build up that maturity. What exactly, in the previous slide itself, what exactly is that maturity that we are talking about? See, when we were kids, there were a lot of games we used to play, and then winning and losing was everything that we cared about. But when we grow older, and then when our children ask us to play with them, it is not that the games winning or losing is of so much of importance. We are just playing it like a game. It is not that very important for us, but for the kid, it might be very important to win or lose. Many times we would even lose on our own to make the child happy. If a guest arrives, we would be in a not much of a problem to leave the game in the middle also. So that is the maturity we have got. When we are playing it with full sincerity. But if we have to leave it, it's okay. When I need a coffee, it's just a preference. It's not that no, I'm only a tea drinker, I cannot have coffee. It's a preference. Even if coffee and tea both are not there, it's all right. So I'm not obsessed. It's not that I hate tea or hate coffee. If I get it, I'll enjoy it. If not, then that's also okay. That is called maturity. In other words, it's called vairagya. If I have the thing, I'll enjoy it. If I don't have it, it's all right. We move ahead with that. So once we have that maturity, that I'm not behind the sense objects, I'm not behind their pursuits, that is one part of it. Then the second is in the next slide, Sarva Sankalpa Sannyasi. Dr. Diksha mentioned that there is a mano vyapar going on. Now, all these things I can still do. Like this person here we see, he is a grihastha. He is still taking care of all the things that has to be taken, but with an attitude of sannyasa. He's now not into worrying, okay, what is going to happen? What am I going to do? Planning is fine, that you can still do, but worrying is something which kind of puts your mind out of your control. So plan, don't worry. And then he becomes as good as a sannyasi only. Even though he is in Grihastha ashram, he becomes as good as a sannyasi. And now that person, again I repeat, who has withdrawn from the sense objects, from their pursuits, he's still following almost like a sannyasi. He's working in all the things, being 100% present there, but not entangled, but not attached or obsessed in that. That person is called situated in Jnana Yoga. That person is called Yoga Rudha. Thank you, sir. Hari Om.
Thank you, Ullas. That was very nicely explained. Here, as he is stressing again and again, the path, that is, we have to go stepwise, and just like how, the fruit, once it matures, it drops by itself. We need to drop certain things, certain thinking, and as we move out of it. And anything which is done forcibly always have negative connotations. That's why he always says you have to mature in a systematic way, and once you reach each step, naturally the extraneous things falls off by itself. Next, we have one of the most discussed verses in the entire Bhagavad Gita, that is 6.5, to be explained by Srimati Arunaji. Please.
Hari Om. Thank you. Uddharedatmanatmanam नात्मानम् अवसादयेत् आत्मैव ह्यात्मनो बन्धु आत्मैव रिपुरात्मनः. In this, the fifth verse of the sixth chapter, Bhagwan Krishna is introducing the concept of self-effort. Now, we are learning how to get to that state of moksha. So after talking about the importance of having a stable temperament and mind, he now talks about the need for self-motivation and raising oneself up on the spiritual path by the correct use of free will. Next slide, please. Swami Paramarthananda says that acceptance of the idea of free will is central to the wisdom of the Shastras. Swamiji says that the fatalistic approach of life as being totally predetermined is not correct. Life is a combination of fate and free will, and one never knows which will take over in any situation. Since free will is an important component of life, any astika purusha, that is one who follows Vedic teachings, has to have an attitude that he or she can take charge of his life and work towards the goal of purushartha, of moksha. The first step to this goal of life is to keep the toolkit, that is the body, mind, intellect, the instruments of the body, mind, and intellect, previous slide please, in instruments in a good condition. It is important to note in this verse that, as in the fourth verse, the word Atma is used, referring to the instruments of body, senses, mind, and intellect. Bhagwan here says, Uddharedatmanam, which is to say, refine and integrate the body to the goal with the help of the body itself. Integrate the mind with the goal to the goal with the help of the mind itself. In other words, the efforts have to come from oneself internally. Atmanam uddharet. That is all internal. And previous slide, please. And no atmanam avasadayet. Do not weaken oneself in life. And what is the mean weakening that Bhagwan is talking about? By this weakening, he means an unhealthy life, an unhealthy attitude in life. So what is needed is self-confidence, not being diffident, and not bringing down oneself with diffidence either. Therefore, self-effort and self-confidence are the two cornerstones of spiritual growth. Next slide, please. In the Bhashya by Bhagwan Shankaracharya, there is a much deeper meaning. The self-motivation and self-effort are crucial, as Bhagwan Shankara says, and this is the stage of nididhyasana. Shravanam and Mananam are done under the care of the Guru and the Shastras. But to move towards nididhyasana, one has to do this all alone, all by himself or herself. Basically, nididhyasana is the process of converting jnana into jnana nishtha. Person has to become a jnana nishtha. This process is crucial because the triangular format that we have been speaking about earlier gets converted to the binary format. So here one has to find strength and will from within to change from Jiva Bhava to Brahma Bhava. At this stage of nididhyasana, Swami Paramarthananda says, we can assume that this verse is directed at a person who is in the sannyas ashrama, whether mentally, if not physically, at least mentally. The state of being jnana nishtha has to be present all the time. From the stage of nididhyasana, the jivatma has been raised to the level of Paramatma. So the jivatma should stay there and not be brought down to the jivatma level. And this can only be done by the seeker or the sadhaka on one's own. This also means not being pulled down back into the triangular format. Atmanam avasadayet. Do not demotivate yourself. Self-motivation is the toughest thing to do, but it must be done. Swamiji says it's like a child who's running in a race in school. The parents and the teachers and will all support and cheer the child on. But the running has to be done by the child himself or herself. No one can do that for the child. No one can run for the sake of for the child. Then there's the word Atma eva hyatmano bandhuhu. at this stage of Nididhyasana, I am my own friend and support. At this stage, one has to motivate oneself and push oneself upward. Therefore, Atmeva. Atma again referring to the Jivatma. The word Eva is used, which means you alone are your own friend. There is no other bandhu, no other relation. And other than yourself, only you can do this process of pushing yourself towards moksha. So the other side, of the flip side of the coin is comes in the last phrase, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. One can be one's own enemy also if the motivation and effort to change the format are not made. The Vedantic view is that no one gives me problems actually. But if I think there are, because problems are mithya, but if I think there's a problem, then the problem is actually with me. So I can be my own enemy in that sense. In conclusion, the onus of spiritual growth is oneself. By motivating oneself, we remain our own friend, and by dragging ourselves down, we remain our own enemy. Alone to the alone, or next slide, please. Alone to the alone, all alone, says Swami Chinmayananda, and this sums it up perfectly well. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Arunaji. That was very well explained. This is such an important verse. It is worth recollecting and recapitulating. Previous verses stressed on quietude or samatva. From this verse onwards, we'll be learning about Atma Krupa. If we are dividing the Gita into six chapters, 3 parts, initial 6 chapter deals more with Atma Krupa or self-effort. The next 6 chapters deal with Daivi Krupa. So this is being one of the last slides of the Atma verses or the section of the Atma Krupa. Lord Krishna takes special effort to clarify many of the things and confusion. That is why this verse is very, very important. Atma has different meaning depending on context. If we say a case, it can have different meaning. A lawyer will have different meaning. A doctor will have a different meaning. A general people will have like a briefcase, etc. They will have. So we should understand what exactly Atma means. Uddaret, you should lift up the Atma. Does it mean self here? How to lift the self? Because self is everywhere. Na Atmanan avasadayat. Don't let the self fall or go down. Can self fall down? No. So Atma is itself is a friend. Okay. Atma itself is enemy. How can it be? So here Vedantic word of Atma, that is self, is not taken. Here what is Atma here means mind or Manobuddhi, mind intellect complex, as Arunaji has told, is taken here. So here for all practical purposes, it is mind intellect which plays very, very important role in our life. So what you are, everything is known, that for all practical purposes, it is because of the mind. And ultimately it is the consciousness, Atma, which blesses this mind. But till we know that it is the mind which plays all this, using this as a means, we have to learn the consciousness or Atma. So here it is mind which is referred. So how one can be your friend? A prepared mind, a quiet mind is your friend, which will help in aid in your daily life as well as in the spiritual progress. But if it is an unprepared mind, a mind which is restless, the mind which is tamasic, the mind which is always planning, sankalpa, as we discussed before, what to do next, how it should be, this should be the way it is, all those things, that can be enemy even in your daily progress and as well as in spiritual progress, because such a mind will always be restless. In fact, some people will even think, okay, through meditation, what benefit I will get? What is the thing I can do? How is it like that? So the mind, prepared mind is a friend, whereas unprepared mind can be your worst enemy, as Osho says. How does this connect with meditation? Our mind is a constant companion in our life's journey. There is always many terms which is used, mano nashaha, etc. You never destroy the mind. It always means you're quieten the mind, you prepare the mind, and you channel the mind in a way it should go. That is what is called as manonashaha regulating. Once the prepared mind becomes a constant and a pleasant companion to you, and your journey will be very enjoyable. As Ullasji has put it in previous, even after attaining Gnanam, how prepared your mind, if you keep on sharpening or clearing the mind with your meditation and keeping your mind clear, you can enjoy the world the more. That is what Swamiji often says, it is Jivan Mukti. It doesn't mean that always somebody is laughing. It is because they see the world without any filter, like a crystal clear. They are able to appreciate everything. That is why this life journey makes it very pleasant. Like how if you have a very good boatman, you can enjoy the boat ride, and ultimately it is the boatman who is going to take you to the other shore. And that is why this prepared mind is a powerful tool, and meditation helps us to make this mind prepare for spiritual knowledge and also in our daily life. And in short, it is this mind is prepared through meditation, and such a mind, once we get the knowledge, it grasps easily, and it also helps in assimilation of the knowledge. And at the end, this prepared mind provides the experience of peace and fullness. That is what we always called as Brahma Palam. So that is the importance or uses of meditation. Thank you very much.
This chapter is addressing the Yoga Ruda, Tivra Mumukshu, to the one who is ready to give up his attachment to the world and dedicate his life towards the one and only goal of self-realization. But we must recognize meditation is not a means of acquiring knowledge, nor is it a direct means of liberation, and nor is it prescribed to a Vedantic seeker for extraordinary mystic experiences. When meditation is used for preparation of mind, it is eligible for Jnana Yogata, it is called Upasana. And when it's used to contemplate on the teachings after Shravanam and Mananam, it is called Nididhyasanam. I have taken the liberty to give my takeaways. Gratitude to our gurus and the Guru Parampara. There can be no spiritual progress without a guru. If the guru is not there to show us the mirror, we might think we are doing good, we are being dharmic, but our mind and ego work so subtly, and we don't recognize how pretentious we are. Dharma without goal of self-realization is not good enough. We are grateful to Dr. Kiran and to all the speakers of the day. Thank you to all our listeners. Next class is on the important Upanishad mantras. This will be the second session of the 4 sessions, and it will be on 3rd May, and based on the mantras from Kena Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, and Chandogya Upanishad. Hari Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.